When I was a girl growing up, there were two things that I absolutely loved to do: play soccer and play my violin. And there was rarely a day that I wouldn't be found either with a soccer ball at my feet or practicing my violin for hours on end. I sometimes equate it to being a bored kid in Vermont, but I was committed. This is something that I would do consistently all the time. And that consistency paid off. I was starting on the varsity soccer team as a freshman in high school, and I was concert mistress for our orchestra for almost all 4 years. And when you really think about it, I learned something about consistency over this weekend from Trent Shelton, who's a former NFL football player. And what he said is, we tend to think of consistency, we either have it or we don't. And if you really think about it, we consistently all do something. We consistently brush our teeth, or we consistently hit snooze, or we consistently choose bad food, or there's it's not that we have a consistency problem, right? It's that we have a commitment problem, or we commit to the things that aren't helping us. So if your big goals are to lose weight or balance your hormones or start eating better or start exercising, go to bed earlier, get up earlier, make a career change, start a business, all of these things, you have to look at what your commitment really is. And that will show up in what things you consistently do or don't do. So I really want to challenge you. I'm going to say that again. What you're really committed to shows up in what you consistently do or don't do. So going back to, when I was a teenager and in high school and consistently playing the violin and practicing soccer, that took me to a certain level. What I didn't have at that time, and what I sometimes
Mhm.
think back on, because, every kid is like, oh, I want to, play on the women's national team or go to the Olympics or whatever. And so that would play in my head a little bit. And I went so far as to play for the Olympic development program and, play soccer in England. And I even studied violin abroad in college. But I knew deep down that that wasn't my major calling, and so it never really became my why for doing those things. I had some natural talent, I loved it, I had natural ability, but my why never really went beyond that. And so when you think about, the things that we really are big dreams, these are the things that are going to pull our commitment, right? We have to really, like, if you have a big dream of someday owning your own business, or you know losing a bunch of weight, or becoming a fitness guru, or having all this time to play with your kids, if you have this dream, you have to really get connected to the why. Like, what's the thing that's going to pull you through and help you find that commitment? Because when we don't have that, we don't consistently show up and do the things we need to do in order to get there. And then it feels like work and it feels hard, and you don't want to actually take the steps that you need to take to get there. So, my invitation to you is, I really want you to think about what things are you consistent at, and what do those things say about what you're committed to? And are you okay with that? For a lot of us, it's when we really take a step back and look at what we've been committed to in our life, it can be confronting and scary. And so you have to be willing to take that the step farther and, first give yourself grace for where you're at. I'll share another story here in a minute related to what this realization this weekend has done for me too. But we have to be willing to step back and give ourselves grace for where we're at in this moment. And at any moment, you can choose something else. You can choose commitment. You can choose consistency. You can choose to have today be the day where you don't get a sugary drink from the coffee stand or the, Starbucks. You can have today be the day that you choose to not hit snooze. Today can be the day that you choose to take time to play with your kids. Today can be the day that you choose to do whatever you need to do to get that business launched or that thing going, and then consistently choose that every single day. So I know this can sound difficult or easy, I would say, and it's not easy at all. You know, I've really been aware the last I was in this conference this weekend. This is where I heard Trent Shelton speak and Tony Robbins and a whole bunch of other great people. And I have been aware for myself, where where I've consistently been making choices or doing things that aren't leading me towards the big dream and big goal I have. I personally have this dream to help transform women's lives so that we can both be the career driven women and mom and have family life and all of this stuff. It's possible to do both things, and yet so many of us get trapped and we feel like we can't, or we feel stuck, we feel like we can't go forward, we can't do this thing, or our family needs us, all of these things. We talk about selfless syndrome, this idea that we have to take care of everyone and everything else except ourselves, and we always come last. And when we consistently do that, we commit to that we are last and that we are not important and that, we don't matter, essentially, is what we're saying. And so we have to be willing to go through the ugly and do the work and get to the truth of why do we matter and what's really driving us. And then start to make the commitments and consistently do the things that are going to get us to where we want to be. When I was a kid playing the violin and doing, juggling the soccer ball every chance I got and doing camps and all state orchestra and all this stuff, those were things that I was committed to getting to a certain level, but never something beyond that. And so for some of us, if we're feeling stuck or like, we plateaued or like we can't get to where we want to go, sometimes we haven't looked far enough. We don't have that big why. We don't have that drive that's going to pull us to where we want to go. And so we don't have the commitment and we're not going to show up and do it. So there's three things I really want you to take from this discussion around this. One, what does your consistency say about what you're committed to right now? Two, give yourself some grace for whatever that is. And the third, really get connected to what is that deep down thing that's really going to pull you into actually making some changes and doing something differently and consistently showing up to be that woman and that person that you were put on this earth to be and do the things that you were here to do. So that's what I want to leave you with this week. I hope this helps serve you, and we will see you next week.